welcome back to my channel. Whomst are you? Because I am the girl and you can be too. So if you're new to my channel, please make sure to like, subscribe, comment and share with your friends. So guys, today we're going to be speaking about balance, right? Because balance in university is quite a tricky thing to manage, and it's just interesting, okay? Because if you think about it, in the beginning, there's that initial freedom, right? Like you've moved out of home or you're living in res or whatever, and like the schedule is way less rigid than high school. Like sometimes you have like an 8 a.m. class, but then you only have another 1 p.m. class, right? Or you only have one module for that day, and then another day you've got like 3 modules that you have to attend. So it's like there's a lot going on, and it's very flexible. And in the beginning you're like, oh my, like I've got so much time. Like, what do you mean I don't have to be up for a class at 7:30 and then be at school till 2 o'clock, you know? Like, that's not the case in uni. Like, you have a much more flexible timetable that gives you a lot of chances to do your own thing in your own time, right? Now, don't get mistaken by that time. It does not mean you can sleep all day and like chill with your friends and go out every single day because you only have like a 2 p.m. class, like you'll be fine. Like, baby, if you're looking at it like that, that's when it just can get out of hand. So that's what I'm saying, like striking a balance in university can be quite tricky because like obviously it depends on your degree. Some degrees are very demanding and there's like classes every single day, but then other degrees, like there's not classes every single day, you know, and even if there are classes, it's like 1 or 2. So you really have to read your situation and like figure it out based on what it looks like for you. Yeah, this is just a reminder. Everything I'm sharing is based off my experience. I definitely know like other timetables are rigid and there's tons of classes that certain people have to attend. So not all degrees are like planned the same way, but I will say for my degree, like, okay, first year was a bit tight because I was like doing all the general commerce modules, so there was quite a lot of modules that I had to go to. But by the time I got to third year, like I literally had only 4 modules and they were spaced out quite well. But in the beginning it is quite a busy schedule, but there's still time. You still can wake up at like 9 o'clock and only have a class only at 11, you know? Like there's just so much freedom that you feel in the beginning when you're transitioning from high school to uni, right? So for me, my own experience is that in the beginning, right, because you're like, whoa, I've got so much time. Like I would come back from school, like laze around, like rest, watch a series, chill on my phone. Like I wasn't too stressed out. But I quickly read the situation because by the second week, like I was on top of my notes. But most people don't catch on until like the 3rd week, right? Like most people will be like still in holiday mode the first week and they tell themselves like, oh, there's no tutorials, like nothing's really happening this week, I'll go next week, right? Then they also miss next week because like they've probably bumped into new friends and they're going out and like they're living their best life. It's in the 3rd week when you're like, wait, this work is actually piling up. Like for me though, that wasn't the case. Like from the 2nd week, I was already like, let's get serious. So every day I would come back home and write notes. Like after every single class, I was making sure I'm getting the notes done for the next class and the next class. And it was just so intense, so cool. That was me every day. Now I remember getting a call from my parents. They were like checking in, you know, like, Unjani, how are you doing? Are you managing? And I remember just saying to them like, I'm exhausted. Like every day I'm writing notes and 1 minute I'm thinking I'm all caught up, then I go to another class and I realize I'm falling behind in that module. Like I remember just feeling so overwhelmed in the beginning because I was trying to play this game of like just like focusing so much on academics that I wasn't realizing like I'm not actually taking breaks. I'm not actually like doing anything outside of that. Like I'm going to class, coming back, making notes, making dinner, going to bed, doing the same thing again, you know? So I remember just sharing that with them and saying, like, I'm struggling, like, I can't keep up with these notes. And like, yeah, no, like, guys, for those who did business in high school, because I did business in high school, like, it felt like I was preparing for like finals. Like, the material was just endless. It was not ending, you know what I mean? And I remember my parents saying, hey, so what do you do when you're studying? And I remember saying to them, like, I just like write the notes that the lecturer give us. Like, I just write notes, like, every day. Like, my parents like, so how do you study? You know what I mean? And I was like, I write notes. Like, I'm always writing notes. And my dad's like, what are you writing notes about? And I'm like, I'm writing notes based off like the lecturer's slides. He's like, okay. And I'm like, but yeah, like, I've been noticing that like my marks aren't showing all this hard work, so I don't know what I'm doing wrong. And I remember my mom saying like, Danam, are you telling me you rewrite everything that the lecturer has already summarized? I'm like, yeah. And they were like, wait. And my dad's like, you're telling me you never touched your textbooks, like, you're just writing notes based off what the lecturer has written in the slides? I was like, yeah. And that's the moment where my parents just gave me the look that like, you're doing something wrong, right? And I remember my parents just being like, no, like, you obviously, that's why you're feeling overwhelmed. That's why you're feeling like you're falling behind, because you're constantly rewriting notes. Like, why are you doing that? And I'm like, I don't know. I thought that was like the best way to go about it, you know? And my dad was like, well, for starters, you should be using a textbook, because if you feel like your marks aren't where they're meant to be, it's because you're not actually reading the proper material. Like, the lecture slides are watered down. And like, guys, like, I don't know what it is. Like, please don't judge and please don't laugh. Like, I used to genuinely think like the lecturer's slides are enough. Like, I had bought all the textbooks, but I wasn't actually using them. And by the time my dad was like, hey, are you using your textbook? I was like, no. And he's like, yeah, that's where the problem is happening. So for me, I remember just thinking like, oh my word, I've been doing it all wrong. Like, I've been working hard and not smart, basically. So from that point onwards, I remember telling myself like, okay, we're not gonna rewrite the lecture slides anymore, because I've been doing that for the past like 2 to 3 weeks and I'm so drained and my marks aren't even giving like all this hard work. So I decided like, I'm gonna start printing out notes, right? I remember telling myself like, let's print out the notes and then spend more time like trying to highlight and understand than just like write and memorize, you know what I mean? So for me, that made like a huge difference. And basically what I got out of it is like, guys, you need to like figure out ways for yourself to work smart, not hard. So when it came to academics, that's when I was able to kind of find a balance and find a way to manage it. And I actually started improving, because what I would do is I would print out the lecturer's notes, I would try pre-read them, or I would just go to class with the printed notes, and then as the lecturer is speaking, I'll just like note down the little things that they're mentioning or saying that like aren't in the slides. By the time I get home, I now wouldn't like be focusing and spending hours rewriting everything. I'll just be spending like an hour like highlighting all the key words, all the key things that were mentioned in the lecture class, you know? Yeah, like that's basically how I was able to manage my academics. And it ended up working out well for me, because like I just saved so much time and I had more time to rest and focus on other aspects of my life, which is what I also want to talk about. Now, when it comes to, also, I do want to say, like, things that work for me might not work for you. So it's just, you know, when I'm sharing my experiences, it's just to give you ideas, but definitely like reflect on what would work best for you, and like, how much time do you have? How much material are you trying to learn, you know? And how best do you study? Do you need long hours, or do you thrive through short hours, you know? So these are all things that you need to think about in the beginning to help yourself manage all the work. So this is just my own experience of how I found a way to kind of get around it, but it might not work out for you. Like maybe you do need to write notes, and there's nothing wrong with that, you know. I'm like all for doing what works for you. Like I have friends who like do really well and they do rewrite the notes, and I'm like, that's great. So it really depends on you. So I do want to mention that. So now that I'd kind of figured out academics and I'd kind of had that sorted out, it was all about how can I make friends now, right? Because guys, I would wake up, go to school, like not talk to anyone. As soon as the lecture's done, walk out, come back, work, cook by myself, eat by myself, repeat. And that was getting really, you know, lonely, and it was getting hard for me because I love people, you know. So to not have any company, like day to day doing everything by myself, I remember that being so hard for me, and it actually created some level of homesickness because I'd like sit by myself and eat and be like, damn, like I'm eating by myself, like, and that was hard for me. So I remember thinking to myself, like, I need to try prioritize like talking to people and making friends and putting myself out there. And I remember speaking to my mom, and she'd always check in and be like, hey, have you made a friend yet? Have you spoken to anyone? And I'd be like, Mom, like we're literally wearing masks. Like I don't know what to say, who to go to, like I don't know how to approach people. So this was at the point where we were going to classes, but we were wearing masks still. So she'd be like, just go up to someone. Like I promise you, nothing's gonna happen to you. Like go to class, sit next to someone random and say, hi, my name is Kanye. And then do that like for each time you guys are in the same class, get a conversation going, and there you go, you have a friend. And I used to think like, girl, it's not that easy. Like, I don't want to do that. Like, and she's like, Danam, you have to put yourself out there. Like, if you just sit in silence, like, you know, nothing's gonna happen. And I literally just took that advice, guys, where I just would sit next to someone, introduce myself, like, hi, I'm Kanye, like, what degree are you doing? Oh, okay, I'm not doing that, but I'm doing this, like, okay, and like, eventually, I like found a group of people, because all you need is like one person. If you can just like say hi to one person, get to know one person, you could end up like forming a whole group or meeting a whole group of people, you know. And that was the case for me. I got lucky in that regard, that I literally just got to know like one or two people, and they already had like a group of friends, and then I got to meet that group of friends, and like it just ended up being like the perfect situation for me, because we did similar modules. We weren't all doing the same degrees. I was actually doing a different degree to all of them, but like at least we shared like one or two modules, and that went a long way for me, because the whole of first semester I was literally doing quizzes, assignments, everything by myself. Like no wonder I was always feeling so drained and tired, and it's because I had no one to like lessen the load with. Like I had no one to discuss the work with or help me figure it out, you know. So yeah, like making friends was something that really helped me, like with balancing not only like academics but also like a social life. And that's another thing I want to like touch on a bit more, is the thing about moving from high school to university, right? The friends from high school, everyone is spread out. There's going to be friends of yours that are in different provinces, different university, different areas, or some could be in your university. So what ends up happening is like, because it's so much harder to see each other, it's not like high school, you have to be so much more intentional about it, and that's what makes it harder. And I feel like that's why my priority was like, yes, I want to connect with those friends, I want to like keep those friendships, but I was also like, it's important that I make friends that are in my building and in my space and in my university, because you know, you need those people on a day-to-day basis. Like, yes, if you've made lovely friends from high school, keep those relationships, but in reality you're not going to see them all the time, and when you do see them, like it's a whole planned out thing. But like on a day-to-day basis, it's so nice to just have those friends that you can eat with, like after class, go to a student center, grab a quick sandwich, or like when, like, in your building, have someone to cook with, you know, someone to eat dinner with. Like, those were things that just made my experience so much better and helped me manage my time and, like, my balance. Like, I felt so much more balanced once I was able to, like, have those two things going. So, like, that's something I would also say really helped with balance. Is like, yes, keep the friends from high school if you want to keep them, but don't be so focused on your high school friends that you're not actually, like, putting yourself out there with the people in your current environment, you know? So that's something that I think is, like, super important to help strike a balance. Okay, cool. So once I was able to make some friends here in my environment and I was able to manage my workload, another thing that I think, now that I look back, that is very important to have for balance is a hobby, right? Like, at the time when I was, like, in first year, second year, I remember thinking, like, doing well in academics, having some friends was enough. Like, that was balance to me. Like, I'd, like, work during the week, play on weekends, and be with friends and be outside. But now that I think of it, like, there's actually time in university that you can fit a hobby. Again, this is not for all degrees, but there are those degrees where it's like, you know what, like, you actually do have time to do something that's just for you and is your own interest. It's got nothing to do with friends, it's got nothing to do with academic validation and doing well. It's just something that you love, something that you've always wanted to do perhaps, or something that you've always done, like maybe in high school, and now you just stopped all of a sudden. So, like, when I look back, like, having a hobby would have taken my balance, like, to another level. Like, of course I was going to gym. I mean, you can count gym as a hobby, but it wasn't something I was, like, having fun doing. Like, I was going to gym because, like, I felt like I needed to be active, but it wasn't, like, fun. But I do think, like, if you're someone who's going to the gym or running, like, those are already, like, great things to add to your routine, just to help you, like, step away from school and friends and just to, like, center yourself and, like, do you, like, do something that's focused on you and your own self-improvement. And the reason I'm, like, emphasizing this importance of, like, having a hobby or having something that's keeping you active other than friends and academics is because I remember when I was in high school, well, actually school in general, when I was doing ballet and dancing, like, that hobby, like, created so much, like, balance in my life, you know? At the time, like, it also created so much discipline for me. Like, also just ballet in itself, it's very a disciplined sport. Like, you know, you have to be very neat every time you go, you have to be on time, you have to be on your best behavior. Like, there were so many things that I learned from doing dancing that helped with my life in general, you know? And, like, thinking back, like, on my university experience, I wish I did something like dancing because it just would have helped with, like, my mental health and, like, just doing something fun, you know, that it's got nothing to do with friends, it's got nothing to do with academics, it's just you just enjoying yourself. So, like, yeah, like, something I would, like, highly recommend just to take your balance to the top is having a hobby. Like, it could literally be something as simple as, like, reading every week, like having a time set out for you to read, or having a time set out where, I don't know, you're gonna go for a run, you're gonna go to the gym, or maybe you're gonna go play tennis with, like, a friend or a coach or an instructor. And, like, that's the nice thing about having a hobby, if it's got, like, someone who can hold you accountable. Because I remember with gym, like, this is why in my head I don't really count it as one of my hobbies, is that no one was holding me accountable at the time. Like, I would just go downstairs, it was in my building, I would go when I feel like it. Like, my friends and I would try, like, do it all together, but, like, a friend would be like, oh, I'm lazy today, and then we'd all be like, okay, let's not go. So it was never, like, routined. There was no one holding us accountable. Another thing is, like, none of these hobbies also have to be things, like, where you're necessarily active. I feel like creative hobbies are also important, like painting. Like, I know for my one cousin, she paints and she just talks about how peaceful it is and how good it is for her mental health. So, like, those are also things that you can look at, you know, doing and exploring. So yeah, guys, like, that's definitely like the advice I would give to strike a balance in this uni thing. But like, I don't want you guys to think that it's easy. Like, I know I'm explaining it and talking through it like it's like something that can happen in a week or two. Like, no, this can take like a whole year to like really figure out like what routine works for you, you know, and how do you want to prioritize academics? How do you want to prioritize like friendships? And how do you want to prioritize yourself and look after yourself? So all of this like takes really long to figure out, and like it's okay if it's taking you a bit longer than what you thought, you know. So yeah, I hope you guys have some takeaways from everything that I've said, and I hope like it helps or makes a difference in your life, especially if you're just like new into uni, or like even if you're in second year. Like some of these things only kick in second year, you know. So like whatever stage you're at, I hope I've given you some helpful perspective from my own experience. Let me know what are some of the things that helped you like strike a balance and helped you manage your time well in university. Like literally whatever tips you have, please feel free to share in the comments. Let me know what tip you liked the most or what worked the best for you. Like share everything with me. I want to engage with you guys. But anyways, thank you so much for watching this video. I hope you enjoyed. Don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, and share with your friends. It means the world to me every single time. Thank you.